going to see a Oh, perfect. Thank you. You're going to see a link, and I want you to hop into that link. And once you hop into that link, you're going to see something like this. Oh, yes, Selena, I'm so glad. Perfect. So Nearpod is going to be an easy way for us to make our session a little bit more engaging, for you to share your thoughts and reflections, and also for you to view the presentation as well. So again, we have some folks joining us. Feel free to drop your name in the chat. We are using Nearpod. You'll see that link in the chat as well. And so make sure you join so that you can be a part of our conversation today. Awesome. And so you should see exactly what I see on my screen, which is our presentation. Awesome. Got some team members. Okay, so make sure you let me know if you're having any trouble joining Nearpod, okay? Perfect. Not seeing anything. Okay, awesome. So let's get started. Want to make sure everyone is settled in. And so, like I said before, we're going to start this session a little bit differently than we usually do. I want to know what is on your minds. And so, just to get our minds working, let us know about your experiences with students cheating. And you're going to let us know on Nearpod. Your screen should look exactly like mine. So if you're having any trouble, not sure what to see on Nearpod, feel free to come back to the Zoom and I'll be mimicking exactly what you should be seeing on your screen. You can also feel free to minimize me and make me into a little square in the corner. And feel free to just stay on Nearpod because everything we're going to do in our session will be here as well. I may bring you back to the chat sometimes just to talk, but let me know if you need anything. Okay, perfect. And also all the things you share will be anonymous, so no one will see your name as well. So feel free to make this a safe space. And so for folks who are just joining us, we are on Nearpod, sharing our thoughts and experiences with students cheating. I want to give us another minute or two to share those ideas. We already have some folks starting us off strong. Students aren't even hiding their cheating, they're just copying and pasting. We've definitely heard that before. You guys have some really interesting experiences. ChatGPT, we know is the bane of some of our existence. Perfect. And so the conversation is definitely getting started and very robustly, I might add. We have a lot of different cheating experiences, which is going to be great and really going to help us ground into our session today. I want you to share these experiences in the chat. I want you to lean into these experiences throughout our session, revisit them, and hopefully you begin to reframe some of these experiences after our session today. Perfect. So thank y'all for sharing. I know some folks may still be sharing, but I'm going to keep moving through our session. And so just a reminder about why we are all here today. We are here to talk about AI, cheating, and academic integrity in the world of AI. Really excited because I know some of us have really come face to face with our students using AI in our classroom, or maybe some of us are really trying to figure out how do we provide guidance for using AI on assignments. But either way, today we're going to talk about some solutions. So we're going to dive into these ideas around academic integrity and cheating. And so as we do that, I know you're like, who is this person talking? My name is Nataja, and I am the lead of professional learning delivery here at AI EDU. My background is in sociology and education, but I've done a lot of program management, delivery, and design. And that's a lot of the work we're doing here today is really shaping the experiences for educators to learn about AI readiness and AI literacy so we can bring those skills back to our classroom and to our learners. So really excited through our experiences. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat, and I'll make sure to get back to them if I can. And yeah, feel free to engage, ask me questions. I am here to share my experiences and a lot of knowledge here today too. So let's get started. A little about our org. I come from AI EDU, obviously. We have been around since about 2019, really empowering students and educators with the skills for AI literacy and AI readiness to drive and make sure they are part of the conversation that the world is having when it comes to AI, especially as it relates to our classrooms and our learners. And so a lot of the work we're going to be doing here today is, again, building that capacity around AI literacy and AI readiness. And so some of our objectives for today, we're really going to be thinking about and focusing on supporting you as educators with strategies that encourage authentic learning and address some of those concerns we have about AI. And so, again, y'all know I love to get y'all minds working. So, we're going to start with a scenario. I want to give you a moment to read the scenario on the screen, and I'm going to provide you with some context in a bit. Also, checking on our chat in the meantime. Perfect. Okay, awesome. And so I gave you some time to read the scenario. And just to provide a little context, I am the teacher and you are the students. This is a communications class and your task is on the screen. And I know this may feel a little bit vague or like, there's not enough detail here. It's not, I need some more, but that is intentional. We're going to be bringing everything to light shortly. So I'm going to give you about 5 minutes to complete this assignment. And then I want you to really focus on your process and not really what you're creating. And so be ready to share a lot about that process. And so the 5 minutes is going to start now. Take a little shot at this assignment. And again, for those who are just joining us, I'm going to provide that Nearpod link in the chat so you can be a part of the conversation as well. And if you have any questions, definitely let us know. And again, for those who are just joining us, we are currently taking on the simulation on your screen. You have about 4 minutes left to complete the simulation. And don't worry, don't think too much about it. Any of those questions that come up, you'll be able to bring those to the main conversation in about 4 minutes. We have around 2 minutes left, and I already see folks sharing some of their ideas. I'm so excited to hear them. And as folks use these last couple seconds to wrap up their ideas, I would love to begin learning about your process. What process did you guys use to take on this task? Feel free to unmute or jump into the Zoom chat and let us know. But I'm really excited to hear a little more about your experiences with this simulation scenario. Selena, it was completely up to you. I would love to hear more about your experience, if you don't mind sharing. Okay. I see Ryan is letting us know having only 5 minutes did not allow us time to actually create something. I put the task right into ChatGPT. I asked ChatGPT to create it. We're even seeing some links from ChatGPT as well. And so, what if I told you guys that you all kind of cheated based on what I'm seeing? And I know that may seem jarring, but let me know, how does that feel? Do you think that y'all cheated? Based on what you're seeing in the chat from other folks, do you think that they cheated? Or would you say, no, I didn't? Say no to AI. I love that response. But you're going to jump back on Nearpod and you're going to see that poll. Let me know. Did you cheat? Or do you think you cheated? Some folks are saying no way. Okay. A lot of folks are saying no way. And I'm reading in the chat, I'm loving the reflections. Where was the assessment scale, all the rubric? There was no clarity around what we could do. I love this. The prompt didn't say not to use AI. I'm not. Just in the chat, make sure I'm catching everything. Um, okay, perfect. And so with this, let's jump back into our discussion. If most of you are saying, no way I cheated, imagine how our students are feeling, right? Why would I, a teacher, think that everyone cheated? Where's that coming from? Feel free to unmute. I'm in the chat as well, but feel free just to talk a little bit. Why would a teacher reviewing these assignments say that y'all cheated? I am in the chat. The 5-minute time implies use of tools. Toby said we need support because it doesn't come from you, apparently. They would know what their students are possible, or really what their students are capable of. Exactly, Selena. I was thinking the exact same thing. Bertha, let us know what you're thinking.
I didn't think that I was cheating, probably because I took it from a different viewpoint. But I just started jotting down a whole bunch of questions because I'm thinking, okay, we're going to get in a group and we're going to be talking about this thing. And then what else do I need to know about this lip service? Why are we doing this? And why are we targeting this audience? So I just wrote down a whole bunch of questions because I didn't think that you were expecting me to write a script. I don't think that my students would do that. They would go to ChatGPT, but I did take a deep dive thinking that, okay, I can't write this in 5 minutes, but I can come up with some additional questions to help navigate what we're going to do when we get ready to write the script.
And I love the kind of comparison you pose. Like, I know I did this, but my students would do this, right? And we're gonna dive into some of the missing items and components that really made this scenario lack clarity, the clarity you need to feel like confident in your approach, right? And so again, something I brought up earlier is in the same way that you guys approach the assignment using ChatGPT and just like trying to get ideas and to get things quickly are some of the same techniques and tools that our students use, right? Which are not always aligned with what we have in mind. And so we always sometimes when we get concepts that we don't quite understand, this is the way that our students are going to approach it. And so we really got to make sure we have some clear rules around AI use because oftentimes the rules are non-existent or really unclear for our students. And so now you guys have had a similar experience. And so for us here at AI EDU, when we think about cheating and academic integrity, they're really tightly connected. And these are the definitions we like to share with you. And so when we think of academic integrity, these are the agreements, the guidelines about student learning and how students will show that learning. And so again, like we said earlier, the idea of cheating is deeply connected to academic integrity. And so when those agreements, those guidelines that we set are broken, or when those guidelines or agreements about student learning are broken, right, we are calling that cheating, right? Once we've set a clear standard and you break that standard or go against that standard, right, then things become kind of murky. And so let's keep diving a little bit deeper. Here now is a revised version of that scenario, right? And now I want you to look at this with those definitions in mind. This is definitely a bit more detailed than that first assignment that you received. And so, as you're reflecting and thinking about this, I want to capture those reflections. I'm wondering what exactly are y'all thinking? In what ways does this revised assignment better support academic integrity? What are some components or characteristics that are really important when designing assignments that include or are suggesting AI use? And so, I want us to jump back into Nearpod if you haven't already. I see some folks in the chat too, but share your thoughts here. What are we missing? Is there anything that we should have included? What components or characteristics are standing out to you? Okay, I'm back in the chat, seeing our thoughts. Yes, focus on the people process. I want to see in my classes. A little bit more specific, still no assessment criteria. Yep. Explicit outcomes, much easier to navigate. The assignment just has a lot more detail, a little more specific. Exactly. So we kind of had the same ideas in mind. I'm in the chat. I see felt a lot less overwhelming, a lot more scaffolding. Exactly. And these are exactly what our learners need as well. Sometimes we may give a vague assignment and don't realize, hey, I could have fine tuned this a bit more. So my students felt more confident approaching it on their own. And so now I kind of want to talk about it, right? I'm wondering what other educators are thinking and what experiences can you share. And so some of the reflection that you share in the chat, I want you to unpack these in breakout rooms with one another. And so you'll have about 5 minutes in these breakout rooms. I want you to stay in the breakout rooms till they close, and then you come back and you'll see my face. I'm also going to drop the questions in the chat as well. But in these breakout rooms, again, we're thinking about in what ways does academic integrity, in what ways does this revised assignment better support the academic integrity we defined earlier? What are really some strong characteristics of this assignment, right, that really stand well in the test of time when it comes to AI? And so you're going to see those breakout rooms pop up soon. But take a moment just to gather some of those reflections from earlier. All right, so you guys should see those breakout rooms up and ready, and your 5 minutes will start now. Okay. Make sure we're jumping into those breakout rooms. Awesome. Hello, hello. Welcome back. Okay, I'm seeing some smiles. I think that means that was good. We were laughing at some things. I want to hear what we were talking about. What came up in our breakout rooms? Any highlights, reflections that are really sticking with you?
Our group talked about the need to be super explicit and clear in what our expectations are for AI use.
Mhm.
And I mentioned that with my students, I use the traffic light example of green light, yellow light, red light. And because I teach low-level language learners, that visual reinforcement really allows them to understand what I mean by that. And then
Mhm.
taking it one step further, which is modeling to them what this looks like. And oh, I was gonna say something else that came up in it. I forgot. Sorry. If I remember, I'll put my hand up.
Awesome. Thank you, Selena. Anyone else? What came up? Are there any highlights from your discussion? What are some of those strong characteristics that you guys pointed out or highlighted that came up for y'all? Whether it's something that you've seen in our revision or something that just came to mind. And also feel free to share in the chat as well.
One
Perfect.
thing our room talked about is like in the second part of the question, like in italicized, it's also like being really clear and being very mindful of like why this part we're not using AI and why we are. Like
Yes.
there's value in your thinking at this beginning step. So do that thinking first and then take that and go to the next step. I feel like this is also a great process to model for students like how they would use AI in the future in the
Mhm.
workforce. Like
Exactly.
think about it first. Yeah.
Yeah, because when we think about AI literacy and AI readiness, this is not about just right now. This is about personal, academic, and professional experiences that we're preparing our students for. And so, really having these strong foundational skills allows them to really leverage AI in ways that we don't even imagine just yet. Thalia?
Yes. So one of the things we talked about is that just because Seth mentioned just because you don't know the law doesn't mean you get dismissed from not breaking it, because he said some of his students were like, I didn't know you couldn't use AI, right? We also talked, and he talked about using the red light, green light as well. But we also discussed how we have certain strategies that we're using in the classroom. Like, for example, he's using having them do more written assignments in class.
Mhm.
I for my rubric, I actually create a rubric that scores for possible AI usage. So, like, one of the things I noticed, elevated diction tends
Mhm.
to show up. Complex sentence structure tends to show up. Um, Content that's outside of the scope of the class tends to show up. And so my rubric assesses for that. And when I see it, dun, 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 dun. And I never mention that you used AI
Mhm.
at all. Because I'm not going to be sued,
Mhm.
right? Because now I have to prove it. No, I said in my rubric, if these things appear, I take off point. Inconsistent tone. And so we
Mhm.
talked about that. And these are like the strategies that I'm using to help my students mitigate or try to mitigate academic integrity, because I've already planned for every student to use it. And I know what are the things that makes me think you did. So that's what I've been doing.
I love that. And we're going to talk about some of those proactive strategies that you mentioned in a bit. Like some of those things about like creating that rubric that really highlights some of those things you already know about AI outputs so that you can really begin to be proactive when preparing your students for a successful kind of academic journey. And like even when just going about a regular assignment, just setting them up for success as well. Bertha, you're going to be our last one, and then we're going to jump back in.
One of the things that we talked about was the fact that the assignment had an expectation that you were going to use AI, and then to let you know that you needed to analyze it, not just copy it and paste it, but to make sure that it meets the criteria that you're setting up for the buzz or the script that you want to write, not to just copy and paste, because it may have things in there that doesn't even relate to the product or the service that you're going to provide. So you would have to analyze it. So that question in there, use AI and then analyze the information that you receive. It was more than just, okay, I use AI, I got it, I'm going to copy and paste it, good, I'm done. You had to do a little bit more to it. There was an expectation that you would analyze it and that there's going to be a change from what you actually received initially.
Exactly. And imagine a student's like, oh, Miss Sandra said that we can use AI. And now they have to think about it. Now it's not just simply, oh, I'm just going to do it. I have to think about how I'm using it because that is also a part of my assignment. You guys pointed out some incredible things. I think I just want to lean on some great notes in the chat as well. Talked about, again, how clear that prompt was. Something that we are really leaning into is that clarity, making sure students know the expectation. Right? And not damning the use of the tool, right? But more so just being mindful about and intentional about how we use the tool, giving clear instructions about what the expectation is. And we have another person here saying, I struggled with AI use, and a lot of other folks do as well, right? Should be used more in the workforce, and we need to help our students learn appropriately. However, as a teacher writing, I have trouble seeing how it can be used for anything other than a tool for cheating. Other teachers are having the same experiences, right? And hopefully, as you guys come to our trainings, we can begin to reframe the ways in which we look at AI. Not only, yes, it can be used for cheating, hands down, but what else can it be used for? How can we begin to be proactive so that we're not becoming cheating detectors, right? But actual helping our students get prepared to create things of their own. And so again, I think something that came up, right, is like cheating and academic integrity are not static and they are not binary things, but really dependent on context given in our learning scenarios. We're thinking about our learning goals and expectations for how to engage with these assignments, right? In the world of AI, cheating and academic integrity are definitely going to feel different than they have ever before. And so you may be wondering, how do I actually catch my students cheating now that they're actually using AI? And like I said earlier, that's reactive. And y'all, it's going to get exhausting reading all these papers, right? And so again, like Talia was saying earlier, how do we begin to get proactive? Like Talia is making her rubric that kind of outlines some of the things that have come up when she's seen AI used in assignments. And so that proactivity is absolutely necessary, and we're going to jump into a conversation about that. And so when we're thinking about being proactive, we're not saying write on the exam, don't cheat, or simply say, don't cheat, y'all, before we administer a quiz, right? It's really about switching it up because we believe that effective assignments are the way to go. And effective assignments always have a good learning objective, parameters for AI use, whether or not it should be used, and then rationale around that. So again, thinking about some of the things listed in the assignment earlier. And then last but not least, accountability for that AI use, because this is what good teaching looks like in the age of AI. We can't keep doing the same thing and expecting a different result. We gotta switch up our process a little bit to make sure we're focusing more on our students' process and learning experiences. And so now I want to turn it over to y'all. We've talked
Same thing earlier.
Oh, what'd you say, Seth?
Sorry, I hit the wrong button.
Oh, no worries, you're good. And so now I'm actually going to turn it back over to y'all because while we've listed some important things, what else is important? I know you guys have incredible experiences and expertise in the classroom and from different experiences. Is there anything that we're missing? Drop your thoughts in the chat or feel free to unmute. And again, these could be strategies to engage students in learning, things of that nature. But what else is important to think about when creating AI assignments? I'm also going to drop that in the chat for us too. Oh, Ryan, can you speak more about that? Like the worst thing we can do is not acknowledge that AI is a thing.
I was just thinking about some high school kids I was talking to a couple weeks ago, and I was just curious about their exposure to AI within their classes there. And one kid was telling me her IB coordinator, who does a lot of IB research and that kind of building that whole portfolio for them, was very into using it, but the rest of their teachers, they just didn't even like didn't even talk about it, right? Like the kids all knew it's there. They were very aware of the potential and the abilities and had been using it for outlining and other activities, but their teachers it just wasn't even a thing. Like whether it was a bad thing, a good thing, or, just acknowledging that it is a thing and that it is a thing that they will be using in the future. So it's to not even like acknowledge it. It's a disservice to not only yourself, but for sure your kids, right?
I'm going to just underscore that again. To not acknowledge it is a disservice to yourself and to your students, because it will be everywhere in the world around them. And if you do not give them the skills that enable them to understand and engage and leverage it, right, you are not really preparing them for the world that exists. Talia, what are you thinking?
Well, I also think we have to teach our students now how to interrogate knowledge, right? And we've seen this even before the advent of AI, where anything that Google says is correct. And even in the land of fake news and hallucinations now, students are still believing everything that pops up on the internet and on TikTok. So as educators, we have to show them you cannot take any type of information at face forward, and you have to interrogate it, and you have to dig deeper, and you have to figure out, is this information truthful? And I think that's where we'll be moving to as far as the critical thinking piece with our students.
Yes, I completely agree. And I think something Susan said in the chat kind of doubles down on that. We also need to show students how just using AI won't make the cut, right? It won't meet the mark when it comes to assignments. There has to be some engaging between their intellectual curiosity and the tool, right? That collaboration is absolutely necessary. Sophia, round us off in this conversation.
Yeah, just actually related to what you were just saying is, I think that like building those foundational skills is more important than ever, because how can our students interrogate what they're reading, or what the AI is creating? How can they critically analyze that if they don't understand how to build it themselves? And that's something that I keep on coming back to when I think about um, incorporating AI into curriculum, is really like it's such a powerful tool, and I think being able to critically evaluate it is a very powerful thing. But you like, in order to do that, you need to recognize what what is quality. You kind of have to be smarter than the AI, and that's the piece that's hard, right? Because those skills are really, really hard to build. There's no shortcut to it. But yeah, I think that there is definitely a place for this. You can't ignore it, like everyone's been saying.
Mm-hmm. And Sophia, when you're saying like getting ahead of the AI, right? That's critical thinking. And we've been teaching critical thinking for ages, right? And so how do we teach that critical thinking so that our students are interrogating these systems and these tools, right? And there are some additional things we really got to think about when we are considering even how AI can be used on assignments, right? If you are the teacher, y'all are the experts. And I know we're all building our capacities and our individual knowledge, but you got this, right? There was a time when we always are interacting and engaging with new tools. We always have to add something new to our Rolodex, and this is no different, right? And so again, give these the appropriate value, right? These recommendations here, but when we think about things like whether or not your school has policies, what the grade level is, and we're thinking about creating creating and using content, any learning differences that you may see in your classroom, and even whether or not you want to use AI in an assignment at all, right? We know that there are assignments that AI should not be used indefinitely, but you should be the decider and the declarer of it when it comes to your classroom, in alignment with your school policies, your school and district policies. And so now we spoke a lot about these ideas. And I just want to bring us back to that revised scenario. So you're able to really see how some of the things, the components and those important components and characteristics of a strong assignment that really focuses on the process looks like. And so just revisiting that for a moment. Okay, so take this in. We're seeing these components in real life because we're going to apply them once again. But before we do that, I want you to take a look at some of the guiding questions to help you a little bit more as you think about these criteria. And I know as we're going through this process, some of you may be thinking, I can't do this. My school doesn't allow students to use AI. And we understand that, right? But it is worth taking a moment to really acknowledge that we have some students that will use AI regardless of school policies. And really, the bigger question is, what is the meaningful learning you want to happen? If we expect that they will use AI, whether they should or should not. We don't want to get caught off guard, but instead, can we ensure deeper student learning experiences with clear learning objectives? What if students use Google search or they're actually look to YouTube advertisement examples to create one for lip service? Or what if their dad is an ad executive? Is that cheating? It's really hard to say, but the key is that students need to be prepared to share openly and honestly about the ways in which they've completed their work. They need to be able to talk about their process. It's like having old school math and having to show your work, right? It is the same kind of thinking. And so you are completely right to be concerned when it comes to cheating in AI. In fact, we actually believe that there are some assignments where, again, AI should not be allowed. Or maybe you're even thinking, I can't always rule out AI, so let me use a cheating detector. But those kinds of things are not really helpful, and oftentimes are just give you the wrong read based on the student, based on the writing. So you want to really keep these things in mind. It's not about defining and justifying. It's really about defining and justifying appropriate AI use and not becoming a cheating detector. And so as we continue this conversation, right, want to think about making assignments that are stronger using our three components. And then if the objective is to see their writing, right, if we're thinking the objective is to see their writing, you might allow them to brainstorm topics for research projects, but not allow them to use AI for writing. Another example, you might expect students to write the paper, then use AI for the first level of feedback. Last example, if you are thinking about assessing bibliographies, then you may use AI to help the student with the writing, but actually not tell them not to use it for the bibliography. So there's a lot of ways we can give instructions around how or guidance around AI use when it comes to different assignments. And so we're gonna kind of check out another example. A persuasive essay on the advantages and disadvantages of social media. The students are going to eat this one up. But I think it's clear that it's missing something. And so again, here's a look at that revised assignment when considering our three components. I'm in the chat. Sorry, y'all. I've been neglecting the chat. Toby, I think that's a great initial strategy, right? Is building that scaffolding into your prompting, into the assignments that you're creating. And then, yes, Nicole, AI detectors are unreliable, right? And especially for our language learners, they really will not allow them to shine. And so we've had a moment to kind of take another look at what it looks like to have that assignment, to create an assignment considering those key components that we listed earlier. And so now, before we leave, I'm going to throw the ball back in your court. Okay. And so we're still on your pod. Um, how would you revise this assignment? We've had a lot of conversations today. We've chatted with others, gotten some ideas. People have shared their experiences and their approaches. And so let's kind of take all that and create something or like put those strategies and tools to the test. How would you revise the assignment to include a clear student learning objectives, parameters around AI use, and accountability for AI use? What we're going to do is actually share that in Nearpod. And so uh, you're going to see some space to enter your reflections here. And so I'll give folks about 5 minutes or so, and we're going to jump back into the main room and share one another. Feel free to drop any questions you may have in the chat. See everyone working hard there. We're about halfway through our time, so you got about 2 more minutes just to wrap up those instructions for this assignment, and then excited to hear what you've come up with. Let me know if you need more time. Hey, so excited to hear what folks have come up with. I'm going to share some ideas, some things folks have shared as well, but if anyone wants to come off mute first, would love to hear. How did you approach the revising of this assignment?
I'll jump in. I'm talkative. So what I did was I made a objective of students have to be able to create a claim and supportive reasons for argumentation. That was the objective. The task was for them to use the supplied AI bot to have a conversation with Lincoln about the abolishment of slavery. And they use that conversation they have to ask 5 insightful questions to Lincoln, and then they have to use that interaction to create a claim and 3 supportive reasons for the abolishment of slavery. They have to submit the data from their interaction with the AI bot. They have to submit their claim and their reasons, and then they have to do a reflection on the process of using the AI bot. And that's kind of something I've done in my college class. I've had my students do that.
Mm-hmm. I love the breakdown. Sorry, Talia. I'm actually seeing you on the back end as well. And I think the breaking down of every piece, I think was it helpful in guiding your process when we were thinking about like reframing or reapproaching the lesson?
Yeah, I like the 3-step. I didn't get a chance to do the AI part, but it's there.
Yeah.
But it did help me think about kind of what do I want them to learn? How can I get them to learn it? And then how am I going to use artificial intelligence to help me get them to learn the information? And
Mhm.
if I didn't need it, I wouldn't use it. And if I thought it would enhance their learning experience, then I would be open to using it. And so that's how I kind of thought about it when I used your framework.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And I'm seeing some other approaches as well. One person is saying developing talking points will find the sources and historical documents, develop the talking point for both sides on your own, and then use the AI to generate summaries of the sources, brainstorm arguments, and offer talking points. Then you have to check for bias and then practice your own debate responses in addition to citing some of those resources. Anyone else want to share their approach? If they have something different or something innovative? I'm also in the chat. Need to clarify whether the learning objective is to be able to create debate points or to know the historical arguments. Use of AI to critique the original talking points they came up with originally. Love that. Oh, I don't know where it went. But with that being said, right, wanted to take a moment for us to continue reflecting on some of the key takeaways from today, right? Really being able to jump in and use those guiding points to kind of beef up and make your assignment a lot more powerful, focusing on the process rather than what we're creating, to making sure that students are actually meeting those learning objectives and those learning goals, and not simply copying and pasting things from the internet that reflect what they should have learned, right? And so as we begin to wrap up today, I do want to show you all, I want to share some resources with you in the chat. That's one. And one of our resources is going to be cultivating critical thinking. And that's something that I brought up earlier today when Talia was talking, when someone brought up the worry about our students really not being able to interrogate or be smarter than the AI. And so this is definitely going to be something that gets you thinking about how to create and build those critical thinking skills, and making sure they are as prominent and intentional and aligned with your assignment and your work. So our students are feeling more confident in their own work and how they approach their assignments. And so you're going to see that in the chat. And you're also going to see a chance just to share some feedback, right? Our sessions are always evolving, and we want to make sure that we are meeting the needs of our educators. I'm giving you the resources you need to feel powerful. And so make sure you fill out the feedback form. We have about 5 minutes left for you to do so. In the meantime, if you have any questions, definitely let me know. I am here. And again, this is what that one pager is going to look like, keeping it brief and short, but very, very sweet. Again, thinking about centering our students' thinking, being explicit always throughout our AI use, and then modeling, like someone said earlier, appropriate AI use for our students as well. Thank you, Sophia. Oh yes, it was Sophia. I was just talking about you. No worries. And so, folks, again, thanks again for joining us. We are AIEDU, really excited. We're going to be offering a variety of trainings throughout the spring, well, the rest of the winter and the spring. So, again, sign up for our newsletter, come to some more experiences. I'm excited to see y'all again. And if you missed anything, we're going to be offering this session again. Or if you think someone you know would love this session, let them know that we're having it again later this month, and we would love to have them as well. Good night, everyone. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night. This is very informative.
Thank you, Bertha. Come again.
I will. I learned a lot. So, and it was just long enough.
Okay, yes, perfect. Look, put that in your feedback. We love that. Awesome. Thank y'all for joining us tonight. I'm going to stay on just in case folks have any questions. So I'll be on till 6. Well, 5 Eastern time.